get on the track and I just can't be.
Now let's get ready for the lightweight fight between Michael Katsidis and Czar Amonsot. And you see that Amonsot is yet another of those precocious young fighters coming out of the Philippines at age only 21. Amonsot has already had 21 professional fights. Katsidis, at 26, is an unbeaten knockout machine, coming in with 13 consecutive knockouts. There's a 5-year age advantage for the Filipino fighter, a half-inch height advantage for Katsidis. Arm length measured from the armpit to the end of the fist, even for both. They weighed in at 135 for Katsidis, and Amonsot was 2 pounds under the limit after having trained apparently well at the Wild Card Gym in Hollywood under the watchful eye of Freddie Roach. And tonight, Katsidis is up to 144.5, and Amonsot has rehydrated all the way up to 146.5 unofficially. Rules of the bout with our unofficial ringside scorer, Harold Letterman.
The Michael Katsidis Czar Amonsot fight is scheduled for 12 rounds using the unified rules that you see on your screen. Jim, real quick, the 4 criteria that the judges will use to score each individual round: clean punching, effective aggressiveness, ring generalship, and defense, with a strong emphasis on clean, effective punching. Jim.
So here's another Manny Pacquiao protege out of the Philippines. We told you about Ray Boom Boom Batista, who is fighting on an upcoming HBO card and already making a name for himself in the 122-pound weight class. Amonsot at 135 has shown some potential early on. 2 losses, both of them to the same fighter, and some outside-the-ring behaviors which seemed for a little while to threaten his career. A little bit of a party animal, according to his reputation, Emmanuel, and that doesn't always conflict with the notion of being a terrific fighter.
No, and in fact, his fellow countryman, Manny Pacquiao, has been known for that before he got to be where he is today. I mean, Pacquiao was like a legend in the Philippines with his bar escapades and his pool hall adventures.
Pool hall expertise, yes, exactly. And Amonsot, incidentally, said that he likes coming to America where there are fewer distractions. That was interesting. And he also likes, of course, the fact that he can get his hair bleached in hair salons here in the USA.
Well, he doesn't have his earrings in his hair that he had earlier today, so he's beginning to look a little bit more like a fighter tonight.
The typical Filipino style is violent. Most of the fighters we've seen coming out of the Philippines in the past few years are punchers by nature. Amonsot, different from Pacquiao, and also I think different from Batista, has no background whatsoever in kickboxing. All of his fighting has come in boxing discipline. Bad to the bone is the music, Emmanuel. So he understood what our commentary would be about him as he came to the ring and has supported it with the soundtrack.
By the vastness of eternity. And so we ask ourselves,
now there's Michael Katsidis, and the tattoo is his Achilles warrior tattoo. His family hails from the town in Greece which originally produced Achilles. And Katsidis, who is a bit of a showman, enters the ring wearing that Spartan warrior son tattoo. As is the case here. Now let's go to ring announcer Michael Buffer for the official introductions.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the Mandalay Bay, we go to the second bout of the evening on HBO pay-per-view. Brought to you by Golden Boy Promotions. Once again, sponsored by Rockstar. Party like a rock star. Cerveza Tecate, beer with an attitude. And Southwest Airlines, symbol of freedom. This contest is brought to you in association with Northeast Promotions. At ringside, the 3 judges scoring this bout on the 10-point system assigned by the Nevada State Athletic Commission: Ruben Garcia, Patricia Morse-Jarman, and C.J. Ross. And inside the ring, your referee in charge of the action, Jay Nady. And now, 12 rounds of boxing for the WBO interim lightweight title. Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner. Wearing black, official weight 133 pounds. His professional record, 18 victories, including 10 knockouts, with 2 defeats and 1 bout even. From Tagbilaran City, Bohol, Philippines, he is Czar Amonsot. And his opponent across the ring, fighting out of the red corner. Wearing black with gold, official weight 135 pounds. A perfect professional record consisting of 22 bouts, 22 victories, including 20 knockouts. From Toowoomba, Queensland, Australia, the undefeated WBO interim champion, the great Katsidis.
Do we have any questions? Obey my commands. Good luck. Let's touch gloves and go to work.
Both fighters are extremely sturdily constructed for the weight class. And when you get a look at their full frames, you'll see that both of them, Amonsot in particular, has puncher's legs. Very strong legs, thick calf muscles, the kind of basis of support that leads to big punching.
In fact, all of the Filipino guys have large calves. It's a standard tradition, seems like. I guess maybe because of their background, most of them in kickboxing.
Although Amonsot doesn't have that background. He's a southpaw, as you see. And incidentally, of course, Manny Pacquiao's a southpaw. But in Amonsot's case, he's a natural right-hander, and his best punch is his right hook. Remember, Pacquiao had to develop his right hook for a long time. He was very dependent on that great straight left hand. Katsidis has already been in one Fight of the Year candidate this year, and you see Katsidis going to work, punching hard with a straight right hand up the middle against Amonsot's southpaw stance. But earlier this year, Katsidis fought against Robin Earl of Great Britain, a fight in England in which in 5 rounds he threw more than 400 punches and landed more than half of them.
You can see right away, Katsidis likes to get right close to you where you can't have any time to even pick his punches out or avoid them. He gets where he shoots his punches out, he's about 12 inches away.
Talk about a puncher's mentality. Every punch Katsidis throws is intended to knock you out. Now Amonsot starts leading with his straight left to counter the fact that Katsidis is unloading the straight right hand up the middle of his stance against him. There's another bomb from Katsidis, momentarily drives Amonsot back.
See, Katsidis likes to punch you and push you with his left shoulder. He smothers you and punches you at the same time that he's smothering you.
Well, the question here is who can take a shot?
Well, I tell you what, the little short right hand that Katsidis is trying to land is going to be very effective, in particular as the fight goes on and he can get closer and closer.
Exciting start to what could be a terrific fight between Czar Amonsot, that's a punch, in the black trunks with the bleached hair, and Michael Katsidis.
As long as Amonsot can keep him at a distance out there, I think he could be effective because he jabs good with the right jab, and he has a nice little short right hook that he delivers. The only time that Katsidis is effective is when he gets very close and starts smothering him.
Again, Amonsot fighting southpaw is a natural right-hander. His best punches are with the front hand, that hook and the jab, as Emmanuel Stewart was describing to you. You know, until he got knocked out by Kelly Pavlik, there was a lot of excitement about the body of Edison Miranda in the middleweight division. His back opens up like a fan. These guys are both built like Edison Miranda.
Very, very well built guys for small guys. And Pavlik, Katsidis' legs may not be that small, but just those type of socks it is where it makes your legs look small.
Now, I think he's got very strong legs as well, although Amonsot's are most notable.
Yeah, both guys are physically strong and I think mentally strong too.
Hard right hand by Katsidis, and Amonsot, who's been hurt by that punch several times in this round, waves Katsidis in as if to say, come on, keep punching. I need my chance to counter, and oh my gosh, what a straight right hand and a left hook from Michael Katsidis. Amonsot's impressive, but he's fighting against a tornado in there.
This is a very, very well contested fight.
Wow.
You notice Jay Nady is mic'd up tonight. Just for us at HBO.
Matis. Come here.
You guys need to get a towel up here right away. Get a towel up here, man.
Awas, Sarah. Ayaw. Dua. Okay, kaya kayo mo in and out, baliki dayon.
Go in and out.
Ayaw pagpundo sa corner.
Don't let him get you in the corner.
Ayaw
Keep your distance.
Okay?
Keep your distance. Get your hands.
Bantayan niyo, yarang tuo, okay? Yan tuo ba?
Now listen, mate, you sit that one down around the side, back over the top, shift your head down, you're doing it wonderful. It's excellent. Okay, cool.
Hobby box numbers from round one. Czar Amonsot had a terrific looking round. He landed 15 out of 45 power shots. Nick Katsidis of Australia was 24 of 41. And those are bombs he's throwing.
What makes this fight good, both guys have a lot of skill, but as soon as one guy has an advantage, the other guy comes storming right back trying to get the lead again, and it's going to be like that throughout the whole fight.
Yeah, and you saw the way they stood and sort of posed off against each other at the end of the first round. Both of them seeming to want to make the point, hey, I'll be here for a while. Don't get too excited.
Oh, yeah, both guys seem to have a little street attitude in a way, too, which makes for a good fight.
Amonsot has made enough of a point with his right hook and straight left hand that now Katsidis is circling and looking for a little more space to fire his shots. An interesting momentary change for Katsidis, who either has decided to fight at a slower, more cautious pace or has gained respect for Amonsot's punching power.
I think that Katsidis right now is having a lot of respect for Amonsot, because I don't think he's fought anybody on that level that he's fighting tonight with Amonsot.
On the other hand, Katsidis landed one right hand and immediately jumped forward for the chance to land two more.
And also, I like Amonsot has landed one punch that I love from southpaws, which is a right uppercut.
And there's blood flowing from the right nostril now of Michael Katsidis. And what a right hand. Oh my gosh. Amonsot leaned into it and Katsidis targeted him perfectly.
Pinpoint right hand, right on the chin as he was coming in.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Box.
Katsidis races across the ring and jumps into position to fire another right hand. Amonsot at the last second saw it coming. This is the mentality of the pure knockout puncher. Katsidis doesn't care what's coming back at this point.
And Amonsot was doing the right thing, tying him up, not exchanging punches while he's hurt, and Katsidis decided to just throw him down.
But Katsidis' left eye is closing rapidly as the result of a hard right hand by Amonsot. So the urgency grows for Katsidis, who's been looking for a knockout from the first bell, but who is now facially damaged with blood coming out of his nose and a badly swollen left eye. Uppercuts now from Katsidis. Trying to set up another big right upstairs by firing his right hand up and under.
Even though both of these guys are skillful, you still seem to have the atmosphere of two street guys fighting that have skill.
Box.
Indication would seem to be that the damage to Katsidis' left eye was done by a punch and not by a butt. Both fighters landing very hard shots in the first couple of rounds, and Katsidis knocks Amonsot down in the second.
Suck him up, nice and deep. And I want some swelling on that, Jim.
This is very
How you feeling,
interesting.
mate?
It's
Good?
not any one particular cut, but just so much damage around the eye area, continually, mainly I think from the right jab and the right hook of Amonsot. So in between the big explosions, Amonsot is steadily working that right jab all the time, right hook, right uppercut. No big punch, but steady.
Get this boy to work away a bit, Mick, for me, okay? And I want that defense.
There's the knockdown, and what a terrific, perfectly targeted right hand shot by Katsidis as Amonsot was basically jumping forward and leaning in, trying to continue to do damage to Katsidis' face. Power punches in round two. Amonsot 9 out of 32, but you saw the damage that he did. Katsidis 29 out of 48. 29 out of 48. That means in 2 rounds, Katsidis has landed 53 of 89 power punches. As accurate as anybody we've ever seen.
But one of the things that still is very important in this fight is the consistency of Amonsot. He's always in between, steadily doing something. Even if it's not as explosive as Katsidis, he's doing something all the time.
And as a result, Katsidis is now very pronouncedly holding both hands up in front of his face. So Katsidis is now in the position of trying to come inside, get inside to deliver big punches, but without jabbing his way in, because he's holding his gloves up in front of his face to try to protect.
He's trying to protect himself now. And Amonsot seems to be very relaxed, very comfortable in the situation right now. Outside for the one knockdown, he's really setting the tempo and controlling the fight.
Katsidis' early assault kind of reminds me in a way of a young Mike Tyson, in the sense that every punch is thrown with knockout intentions and there's such amazing intensity. But of course, Tyson, like Jack Dempsey, like a lot of great punchers, wound down like a clock after 5 or 6 rounds. And you wonder how much urgency there is for Katsidis to get this done in a hurry.
What he reminded me somewhat of also the one guy, which is another famous Australian, which was Jeff Finnick, who fought. But Jeff Finnick did not have the firepower that Katsidis has. But Jeff Finnick was strong the entire fight, whether it was 12 rounds, 15, or 10.
Well, Katsidis had his hands open and was throwing from both sides early in the fight. Now that he has sustained so much damage to his face, his new tactic is to come forward with both hands up and try to set up right hands upstairs with his uppercut.
But the one thing I say, every punch that he throws has still got full knockout power on it, though. He's not lost his knockout power.
Amonsot is the smoother boxer, seems to have more different punches and more weaponry. That could show up over the course of a long fight. If I'm in Amonsot's corner, I'm telling my fighter to hang in and try not to lose his equilibrium, because he may be able to outbox Katsidis over the long haul.
Yeah, because Katsidis is really shooting this wild. He's letting every punch go strictly for knockout, not planning on a long fight.
Now a series of left hooks from Katsidis. Mostly a right-hand puncher up to this point.
Don't hold! Stop! Box.
Katsidis leaning in to try to shorten the distance.
Yeah, but Katsidis is very, very effective with short punches in there.
Yeah, and so now Amonsot starts trying to go to his uppercut. Katsidis' blood is going to start showing up in Amonsot's hair.
Don't hold!
Blistering battle along the road down the stretch of round 3. What a brutal fight.
Champion! Yes!
Yeah, that's good. Go in and out. Focus. Get your water. Okay. Get your uppercut in. Go in and out. Don't let him corner you. Stay away from him. Keep jabbing him.
Okay, good, okay. All right, now I want you to sit. Now I want you to sit a little bit on the outside and let him come on, okay? Michael, I want you to sit on the outside, balanced up, and I want you to let him come on a little bit, okay? Then when you work, I want you to move in again, okay? Keep banging that bottom for me, and then back over the top, all right?
I'll show you 1,000.
Take a look at it.
CompuBox numbers in the 3rd round. Katsidis, 25 out of 50 in power punches. He continues to land half or more of his power punches in every round. That time, Amonsot, 26 out of 52. Katsidis hasn't thrown a single jab in the last 2 rounds. Harold, how do you have it through 3?
Okay, Jim. 2 rounds to 1, 29-27, Michael Katsidis. You got to give him an extra point in round 2 for the knockdown. Jim, I got to comment that something they're doing in the Katsidis corner is driving me nuts. This is a guy that's busted up, and yet they got Jimmy Strickland, the cut man, working on the outside of the ring, on the right-hand side, trying to close the cut or trying to bring the swelling down on Katsidis' left eye. He's reaching across, all twisted up. They should have him in front of the fighter, inside the ring. 2-1, Katsidis.
What's your take about Jimmy Strickland working outside the rope?
Yeah, I was going to make that same comment. One of the best cut men in the boxing business, and to have him working outside where you cannot be effective. He needs to be looking directly into the cut where he can work comfortable, and also to maybe put something to cover the eye area in case some of the coagulants drift down into the guy's eye, but he's working in a handicap position.
And incidentally, it's obviously a situation where they didn't bring a cut man from Australia. They've hired Jimmy Strickland on a one-off basis because he works here in America. You wonder if they even know how good a cut man they've got working with them.
That's a good point. They probably don't even know. But I tell you what, the way this fight is going, it looks,
hard right hand by Amonsot.
Very good for Amonsot right now, but he seems to be so relaxed with the situation, placing his punches very well, and it seems to be just more in control.
Absolutely. He's weathered the early storm, and you saw the show of confidence from Amonsot at the end of the last round as he went back to the corner with his hands held high. His cornermen were rejoicing. Their take is they've turned the tide already in this brutal battle.
But you still have two good punches, and what's interesting, these guys are punching with more power than most of the modern heavyweights that you see.
Once again, we're in the lightweight division. Two young fighters, either of whom could rise to be a major league destroyer in this weight class. Amonsot's only 21 years old, fighting in his 22nd professional fight.
He's fighting a masterpiece. He's doing everything right.
Keeping his lead right foot outside of Katsidis' left foot, and it's enabling him to hit that eye even better than he would normally be able to do it.
And in addition to mixing up the jabs and with the right hand and a hook with the right hand, now he's doing a lot of left hand leads through the center.
And Katsidis' confidence has clearly receded a little bit as he has to change his style somewhat. Fight with his hands up more to try to protect his face, changing his punch selection a little bit, looking for more answers for how to keep doing damage to Amonsot without getting damaged himself. And Amonsot just getting more and more comfortable with the flow of the fight and his clearly superior boxing skill.
Yeah, he's doing a variety of different things now.
But as Amonsot starts to get confident and open up, he creates a couple of opportunities, and Katsidis immediately jumps on the opportunity to land a right hand. Amonsot with a huge uppercut down the stretch of the round. Katsidis has a good chin, that's for sure.
Both guys.
3 more for me, mate. Nice and deep. 1. Let's clean him up, Redwood. Another one. And 1 more. That's good. Still clear? Still clear? Okay. Okay. Let's get right outside that foot, mate. Let's get the steerer up, okay, for that right hook. Outside the foot. And I want you to start moving up a little bit more with the right hand. You can start to double it up for me, okay?
Here you see, starting in round 2, no particular one punch, but just a variety of different punches that's coming from Amonsot. And as a result of that, that's why you see all of the facial damage has been did. Just continually just landing punches, particularly a lot of the right-hand punches. Jabs, right hooks, right uppercuts, left-hand leads, right jabs.
Unless you need any further evidence that the tide has completely turned, in the first minute 35 of round 4, by CompuBox count, Katsidis didn't throw a punch. He wound up 6 for 19 in the entire round. Amonsot had a very smooth round, landing 15 out of 53 punches. So for the moment, it's Czar Amonsot who has gained command of this fight, though he was down in the second round and rocked by a series of right hands from Michael Katsidis early on. He has damaged Katsidis' face, he has compromised Katsidis' vision out of the left eye, and he has gained tactical control of the fight.
And right now, Katsidis cannot deal with the situation. He doesn't know what's going to happen, where it's going to happen, when it's going to happen, and he just totally confused right now.
Well, that's the puncher's mentality. I mean, I've seen it so many times in 20 years of calling fights, Emmanuel. Punchers, quite often, don't have plan B because they are so confident in their ability to destroy the opponent with big shots.
I agree with you, Jim, and this is a perfect example right here.
He's also cut fighting a good fighter, a southpaw, on top of that. The thing about Katsidis is he has fight-changing power in both fists and the toughness to hang in there and throw those punches with bad intentions in the face of adversity. That's what we've seen so far.
Yeah, that's a good thing. That both guys, as I said earlier, they both are punching with a lot of authority, especially for small fighters. But Katsidis can turn the fight around still with one punch because he still is punching with a lot of power.
I don't believe he has the same explosiveness he had in the first 2 rounds. I think that he is tentative enough now in the face of the damage that Amonsot has done that he's not setting his feet and firing with quite as much shocking power as was the case early on.
Jim, I honestly don't see that. I think that there's some wear and tear there. Obviously, it's been a tough fight. But I think, like right there, Katsidis is throwing with everything he's got when he's throwing.
Well, those 2 right hands certainly supported your point, Max.
But up until then, you're right. He was more plodding with his punches.
But what he's got may not have been what he had a couple rounds ago.
Stop! Put your head.
Amonsot is a little bit more aware now of Katsidis' extreme dependency on the right hand, too.
But this is a good round for Katsidis.
Katsidis has reestablished himself as a force in the fight in this round, after clearly being a little bit lost at sea in round 4.
Warning on your holding.
Now Jay Nady warns Amonsot for holding. And Katsidis takes advantage of the momentary lull to jump right back in and land right hands over and under.
Stop!
Last 10 seconds of round number 5. It's been an all-out war from the perspective of Michael Katsidis of Australia. See Czar Amonsot trying to mix in boxing with his punching. Great fight so far. 15 minutes ago. 42-year-old Bernard Hopkins. Will it be his last fight? He says, no. I'm back to enjoy what I do and continue doing it because I proved to myself last summer against Antonio Tarver that I can be comfortable in the light heavyweight division, that this is a good weight for me, and that a continuation of my career is entirely logical. Winky Wright will have something to say about that later on.
Make sure you lock it down. Come back to me with it, eh? I want it down, everything down. When you hit the bottom, let's bring it back down, shift your head back down this side, okay?
Yep.
You can double up the right hand when you got him on the flow. You are behind, you need to pick it up a little.
Well, you heard trainer Brendan Smith telling Michael Katsidis there, you are behind, you need to pick it up a little bit. Smith may be forgetting that his fighter had a 2-point round in the second round when he knocked Czar Amonsot down. Or he may simply be saying we've lost every round since then.
Yeah, but whatever way, I think there's a reason to be concerned in either one of these corners, because the fight right now should be pretty much close to dead even.
Power punches in the 5th round. Katsidis 20 out of 43. Amonsot 17 out of 39. Not much to choose between the two of them.
You know, Katsidis seems to have lost control of the fight, even though he had a better round last round, being outboxed. And he might not win the fight. But what I want to know is, when can I see him again? Because this guy, win or lose, is a guy you want to see fight. I mean, he's bringing pressure, and he's throwing real knockout bombs with both hands.
Well, and if he ever managed to get a fight against Juan Diaz, the baby bull, I mean, I'd pay big money to see that fight. Because Juan Diaz is as exciting as any American fighter. Fights for 180 seconds of every round.
Is more polished, and yet without the one-punch power.
Unquestionably nowhere near this kind of power, but definitely a more skilled boxer. Amonsot trying to get the blood flowing again from the left eye of Katsidis, and there it comes. Amonsot's got a pretty good jab when he uses it, Emmanuel. Sometimes
yeah, he's not using it enough. He's actually slowed down on his boxing part, and that's what's made the fight the fight is becoming much closer than that's going on. It was interesting. Katsidis said that he's ready for Juan Diaz right now if they could make the fight, and so he has that much confidence. But I guess if he started off fighting 12 rounds off the bat,
yeah, 12 rounds in your second fight, and this kind of puncher, you know, he's obviously very confident in his punching power and his ability to change any fight at a given moment.
But him and Diaz would be a good fight. But one is consistent, though. It's the one thing he fights, as you said, all the way through the whole round. He never takes a break.
Juan Diaz coming off a stirring victory over Acelino Freitas a couple of months ago, and looking toward a possible fight with another belt holder in the lightweight division, Julio Diaz of Coachella, California, later on this fall.
But I agree with Mad Max. I would love to see this Katsidis fight again against regardless of who. He's very exciting.
Two straight right hands from Katsidis momentarily stun Amonsot. Amonsot comes back with a right hand of his own. Little left hook for Katsidis.
The fighting spirit in both of these guys is tremendous.
Amonsot, meanwhile, is also taking some big shots and hanging in there and not really changing the game plan, having the discipline to stick with his game plan.
Katsidis is fighting much closer, and that's making a big difference.
This is not the kind of fight you'll see in the main event. This is about as far from what you'll see in the main event as is descriptively possible. And here comes another great artist, Winky Wright, who has been very relaxed all weekend and seemed very calm and relaxed in the wake of the strange incident at yesterday's weigh-in, where Bernard Hopkins, after having laughed and yucked it up with Winky through the entire pre-fight publicity stretch, suddenly put out his right hand and popped right on the forehead during the stare down at the end of the weigh-in, causing everyone who was there to wonder exactly what was that about, what got into Bernard, and was it calculated or was it spontaneous?
Yeah. Turn around when he turns to go near you. Jab, stay away.
Come on, let's go.
Listen to me.
CombiBox Numbers found a huge round for Michael Katsidis in the sixth, landing 31 out of 56 punches overall, every single one of them a power shot, every single one thrown with knockout intentions, as you've seen from the opening bell. Harold, how do you have it through six?
Okay, Jim, 4 rounds to 2, 58-55, Michael Katsidis. Jim, this guy is shades of Vito Antifermo, Billy Backus. You know, the kind of fighter that gets busted up and never stops coming. I mean, he's a brutal banger, just like Max Kellerman has called him. He just keeps on coming. He doesn't care about the damn cuts. He just keeps wading in, throwing that right hand. I think he won, you know, rounds 1 and 2, rounds 5 and 6, 4 rounds to 2, Katsidis.
He ran past Amonsot and tripped over Amonsot's foot and got up so rapidly he barely needed Jay Nady to rule that it wasn't a knockdown. Went right back to throwing his hard right hand.
Speaking of knockdowns, when I was talking to Jay Nady just recently, speaking about the knockdown with Barrera and Marquez, he admitted, he said, I just didn't see the punch that knocked him down.
Well, he's been on record as saying that he understood exactly what happened with that, and it was one brief moment in a fight that was scored so one-sidedly for Marquez that ultimately it was a moot point in context of the scoring of the fight. Hard right hand by Katsidis.
It's amazing how he seemed to have got new energy and new spirit and punching with so much authority and firepower. And is taking control over the fight all over again.
And I think Amonsot didn't expect Katsidis to be able to come back like this at this stage of the fight. Amonsot might have thought after the third and fourth rounds that he had it.
You know, Jeff Fenech was the best Australian fighter in recent years, in my opinion, and did not hit like Katsidis because he had bad hands, but never stopped coming at his man. Stop! And Katsidis has a lot of that same kind of fighting spirit. Fenech would beat more skillful fighters by breaking their spirits, breaking their will to fight. And Amonsot has shown a lot of heart, but if there looks like there's a little give in either guy right now, let's put it this way, it's not in Katsidis.
And Mike Tyson's name has come up a few times during this commentary for obvious reasons, but there's another connection because the fighting styles of Tyson and Jeff Fenech were so similar that they became great friends, and Fenech even at one point left Australia and came here to train Tyson for his fight with Clifford Etienne.
Yeah, he trained Tyson for 2 fights. In fact, I did at one time train Jeff Fenech myself, so I agree with everything that Max said about him, but the difference is the punching power of Katsidis is way, way better than Jeff, because Jeff had very bad hands and fought a lot of his fights with both hands bad. Even going
Jeff
into the
was in a lower weight class than this.
Yes.
He was a featherweight fighter.
Yeah, he was fought around 122, 118, and eventually 126.
Katsidis needs the punching power because he's not as polished a pressure fighter as Fenech was, I don't think, but has that same kind of fighting spirit.
But not as consistent either. Jeff fought, was continually fighting all the way through.
Every time Katsidis lands his right hand across the top, the crowd oohs and ahs.
Hey, he's saying well out of that, eh? Breathe him in again. Wait. Okay. Hey, mate, you're settling out there nice there. You're finding it lovely. Your timing's getting very good. Excellent. You're coming into your own there, and I'm going to let you just come into your own, okay? You're coming into it nicely. You got your thinking cap on. I want you to just come into your own. You're going well, eh?
Yes, jab, balikan. One step backward.
Yeah, this fight is yours. Step away, step in, get the jab in, then step out, then hit him again. Okay?
Let's go.
Dua economy.
Play, fight.
CombiBox Numbers through round 7. Katsidis 160 out of 311, landing more than half his punches in the fight, just as he did against Robin Earl of England earlier this year. Amonsot 134 out of 438. On Harold Letterman's card, Katsidis lengthens his lead, and he comes out throwing with the same gusto in round number 8.
Amonsot caught him with some good uppercut counters, Emmanuel. What does he see there that he's starting to use that uppercut, at least in the beginning of the round?
Well, he got a very good motivation speech, I would say, from his corner at the end of the last round, and he should, because if he gets back to jab, the jab is the key in the fight, but he's lost his jab. As long as he had his jab working, it kept him where he kept his distance and his range. But once he lets Katsidis start getting in close to him where he can muscle him, he is trouble.
Yeah, Amonsot's fighting spirit sometimes penalizes him here because he wants to go ahead and brawl with Katsidis, and you can see from the strength of Amonsot's legs and his own punching power, he probably figures he can brawl with anybody in the world. But this guy is quite unreal in his strength for a 135-pound fighter, meaning Katsidis.
Very, very strong guy.
What's compelling is when you see the triumph of will over skill. Clearly he's outskilled in this fight, and his doesn't hurt to be able to punch like Katsidis, but to impose his will on a more skillful fighter just by being more physical is compelling.
And especially the guy that's unmarked. I mean, you know, look at Amonsot doesn't have a scratch on his face, and here's this guy's fighting with his eyes hurt, closed, bleeding. Both eyes are really injured.
It looks like he's not going to see for a month.
Stop!
Amonsot holding on to Katsidis' right arm, blood flowing freely from Katsidis' left eye. Little left hook by Katsidis. There's the big shot, a straight right hand. There's the jab that could win the fight for Czar Amonsot if he would go back to it more often.
A jab and a little footwork.
That's the way to do it.
Stop. That was low. That was low. Unintentional low. You all right?
Nady warming Katsidis for a low blow.
Not to mention a headbutt. He came in with his head and hit him low at the same time.
A lot going on in the fight, and Zay Nady's done a good job of keeping it under control here.
Stop! Come back, please. Box, please.
So that's when Amonsot gets into trouble, when he bends right forward just at the time that Katsidis starts punching, because he bends right into those little short punches that Katsidis shoots instead of pulling back and jabbing.
Katsidis seems to be able to slide to his left now and cut off the ring a little bit better than he was doing a few rounds ago.
Time!
This may have been a round for Amonsot, and the difference was he jabbed more this round.
Well, when you saw Winky Wright entering the arena, I made a reference to what went on in the weigh-in yesterday between Wright and Hopkins. And you could see the smiles and the laughter as the two fighters took turns stepping on the scale to weigh in, both of them at exactly 170 pounds, the weight limit for the fight. No indication here that anything unusual was about to happen. Hopkins was quite congenial in his meeting with us yesterday morning, seemingly in a good mood, warm and relaxed. Then they stood behind the scale, got ready for the face-off, the talking began, and all of a sudden, in a moment, boom. Hopkins put his hand on Winky Wright's forehead and pushed him back, and a scuffle broke out between the two camps. The two fighters were separated. No meaningful punches were landed by anybody on the dais, but certainly there was danger with that many people up on the podium ready for the weigh-in ceremony. And of Hopkins' proposed $3 million purse for the fight, 10%, $300,000 is now going to be held in abeyance, awaiting a hearing Monday with the Nevada State Athletic Commission, where they'll determine exactly what penalty should be levied against Bernard Hopkins for what went on yesterday. We'll talk more about that small spat and its potential implications for the fight between Hopkins and Wright. Meanwhile, the violence continues here. Jabs through 8 rounds. Katsidis has landed 2 of 13. That's right, 2 of 13 jabs in 8 rounds. Amonsot 42 out of 210. Blood flowing freely from both of Katsidis' eyes, and he's grinning.
But he can't get into the fight. He's grinning, but right now, as long as Amonsot keeps boxing him and moving, he cannot get back into his groove yet. The distance that Amonsot is fighting now is perfect for Amonsot. trouble for Katsidis.
Stop. That was a headbutt. You okay?
Headbutt.
You all right?
Yeah, he's a headbutt, mate.
Hold still.
Straight to the cut.
Time!
Good luck to Nady trying to find a new cut on Katsidis'
That was
face.
a headbutt on the top.
Straight to the cut.
It's a new cut on the top.
It's a new cut. This wouldn't stop the fight.
Okay, we're okay. That's a headbutt on the top. Time in.
So there is a new cut on Katsidis' face.
As if he needed that.
Question I have watching this unfold. When Amonsot has the distance and is using his jab, as opposed to when Katsidis starts to close the distance and get physical, how much of that is, when Amonsot's not using the jab, is Katsidis imposing his will? In other words, when he gets really physical, is there any kind of skillful technique that Amonsot can employ to stop that kind of physicality, given how strong Katsidis is?
Yes, but I don't know if he do it. When you do that with your jab, you throw a punch when the guy's coming, you kind of move him off to the side at the same time that you punch. Henry Maskey was good at that. You hit the guy and push him off in a different direction in addition to it.
Katsidis may well be ahead on the scorecards, Emmanuel, as he is on Harold Letterman's scorecard. But how much urgency is there for him, in your view, to go ahead and get the knockout, given that this fight could be stopped at any moment?
Absolutely, Jim. That's why I'm very much concerned about the doctor may stop this, and especially they actually cuts were mostly inflicted by blows, legal blows, too, so it wouldn't be any accidental injury type when you went to scorecards.
We saw Arturo Gati's ostensibly his last big-time fight, and he got to be as popular a fighter as he was because of circumstances like this. Fights that could have been stopped with swollen eyes and cuts, and he came through with dramatic knockouts.
Katsidis seems to feel as though he needs the knockout, and he's certainly still going for it with every right-hand punch. Lands another huge shot there, and a big one there. And the crowd begins to respond, but there are only 15 seconds left in the round. And a frustrated Katsidis tries to throw Amonsot into position where he can land another one.
That's extraordinary urgency on the part of Katsidis.
Because at what point is it the doctor's professional responsibility to protect Katsidis' vision rather than his potential victory here?
This is very bad.
Composure now. This is what champions do right here, right now. I want you to breathe for me. Ref, can I talk to you for a minute?
What?
If this gets stopped by the doctor now,
Depends on
does
which
it go
one
to
you get
score?
stopped for. Only one of those is a headbutt. That's the one on the top.
That was the first. Is that the one that's stopping it?
No, there's nothing getting stopped yet. I want you just to breathe. I need some water for him, fellas.
Okay.
Breathe them in. Breathe them in. Okay, I'm going to give you a drink. Yeah, I'm going to give him a sip.
Even though Katsidis is cut and it looks like he may get stopped, he's still punching with so much authority, in particular when he can get in close. And Amonsot doesn't have the time or the distance to see the right hands coming. He has two great right hands right here.
Bang! Power punches in 9. Katsidis 25 out of 51. Amonsot 13 out of 26. The doctor gives Katsidis another round to fight. 10th of a scheduled 12. Harold, how do you have it through 9?
Okay, Jim, 87, 83, 6 rounds to 3, Michael Katsidis. Jim, this is a weird situation. If they stop the fight because of the cut over Michael Katsidis' eye, which was caused by a headbutt, you go to the scorecards and you score a partial round if it's stopped in the middle of the round. If they stop the cut on anything else, the cut under the right eye, the cut under the left eye, Czar Amonsot wins by a technical knockout. That's about as strange as you can get. 6-3, Katsidis.
What a chin Amonsot has shown, taking shot after shot after shot from Katsidis. What a powerful desire to finish it right now Katsidis is demonstrating as he lets his hands go and gets the knockdown. 3, 4, 5, Amonsot looking at his corner, but his job is clear. Stay on his feet and keep fighting.
No one punch, just overwhelming with just so much determination and strength.
And Katsidis runs back and lands another right-hand shot.
This is the birth of a special fighter here in Michael Katsidis that you're watching.
Unbelievable timing. And Arturo Gatti retired a week ago, and now here he comes again in the 135-pound weight class. This is exactly the way Gatti looked the night that he knocked out Wilson Rodriguez in Madison Square Garden when the legend really was launched.
And you know, Jay Nady is doing a great job tonight because he's giving both guys an opportunity where he could have stopped the fight both in either direction at one point, but he's not. And it's difficult because one guy's cut up so bad, and still the other guy is one is in trouble.
And Katsidis is punched out right now and somehow mustering the strength to continue to move his hands.
Stop! You can't hold.
Beatty telling Amonsot he cannot hold. Amonsot starting to get his legs back a little bit and actually fires a straight left hand. Katsidis trying to get activity in his arms because, as Max pointed out, he's punched out and still lands a huge right-hand shot up the middle.
When Rocky Marciano fought Ezzard Charles in their rematch, Charles had Marciano's nose literally hanging off his face going into the 8th round. The referee gave Marciano 1 round to continue. 1 more round, and Marciano knocked Charles out in the 8th round. The way Katsidis came out of his corner in this round is reminiscent of that kind of circumstance.
Stop!
The good news for Katsidis is, and believe it or not, his eyes look better right now than they did 2 rounds ago.
This was a tremendous fight. Not just the punches thrown, but there's so much power in each one of the punches.
Unbelievable damage to both fighters.
Okay, are you okay? All right. Where are you? Where is his eye? Watch his eye.
Ha! Come on! Come on, sit down, Saul. Relax. Relax.
2 rounds.
Relax, relax.
Who's got the water bottle? Thanks. Okay, you ready for a sip? Suck that.
Don't worry about water.
Listen, mate. You're a mile in front and you're doing a good job.
Here you see Katsidis coming in with just a barrage of punches. No one punch. He just was trying to force a knockout, even though the opportunity wasn't there for a clean punch. And he just going all out. And a lesser guy would have given in under the situation. Maybe a referee may have stopped the fight in a different situation.
Second knockdown of the fight for Katsidis. Second time Amonsot has gone to the canvas. CompuBox numbers in round 10, Katsidis landed 40 out of 79 punches. Every one of them was a power shot. He continues to land half his punches in the fight. Amonsot 19 out of 45. Harold Letterman's scorecard now shows a very comfortable working margin for Katsidis, who got another 2-point round. But can he finish the fight?
Well, he will if Amonsot just sits back and watches, and you're realizing that he should realize that he's behind on points. 2 knockdowns scored against him, and you have a guy whose eye is totally messed up. He should be stepping it up a little bit and going all out to try to go for the knockout.
And who's exhausted, by the way. Katsidis at the end of the round was mugging in front of Amonsot because he needed to buy himself some time. He was punched out and exhausted.
He's still buying time. And you wonder if he is doing what he's doing right now, which is putting it in the deep freeze to a certain degree, because he realizes he's ahead on the scorecards and simply wants to avoid damage at this point, or because he's totally punched out after all of the action in the last round.
Probably both, but the most important thing is Amonsot is working and going right along with him. He's working perfectly into the plans of Katsidis, just taking his time, letting him rest, and the clock is ticking. And each ticking moment is getting closer and closer for Ricky for Katsidis.
Yes, it's too late for Amonsot to box. It's too late to start relying again on the jab, which could have won him rounds early in the fight. This is the time for Amonsot to reverse the momentum and jump all over Katsidis and try to finish him off. And now Amonsot with a good straight left hand up the middle, and the bleeding begins again on the left eye of Katsidis.
That eye is a...
Whatever's left of it.
Whatever's left of it is a constant knockout threat, really. It's turned Amonsot into a one-punch knockout threat, because this fight could be stopped at any moment if that eye gets any worse.
And I saw some places where the doctor or the commission would stop the fight still, regardless of
yeah, exactly. I mean, you wonder when Max makes a good point when he says if the eye gets any worse, how could it get worse?
It is getting worse.
It can start gushing as opposed to spilling.
Katsidis threw 1 punch in the first 2 minutes of the round, but he bought 2 minutes, and that was the key.
You know, in the neighborhood where I was raised at, we had a joke that said it looked like Katsidis had been in an axe fight and everybody had an axe but him.
And it does look that way.
Everyone else has an axe, he has the anvil.
If the doctor and the referee will allow Michael Katsidis to fight one more round, he is poised to pull off one of the most dramatic victories you could possibly see.
Boxing history.
Suck them up. We on the last. Breathe them in nice and deep. Last round, Redwood. Feeling? Got it in you? Hey? You've done a good job, mate. You've done a good job. Nothing silly in your home and no, okay? But there's a safety zone there. You're a safety round. He's going to come out firing. Expect the biggest rush you've had for a long time, okay? All right? I want everything nice and tidy. And don't blow yourself in the first half of the round for me, okay? This fight's not over until the bell, all right?
Well, Emmanuel, you talked about the veteran cut man, Jimmy Strickland, and it'll be fascinating sometime down the road to talk to Jimmy and see where he places this in his book of memories as a cut man. Punches in round 11, Katsidis 4-21, Amonsot 16 out of 53. Katsidis comfortably ahead on Harold Letterman's scorecard. Already has scored 2 knockdowns of Amonsot in the fight. Max, the leader in the clubhouse for fight of the year at this moment, was probably Miguel Cotto against Zab Judah in Madison Square Garden, and that fight had mayhem, but nothing to compare to this.
This is better back and forth action. A lot of the visible damage in the Judah Cotto fight was from elbows and headbutts, accidental or otherwise. This is from two-way punching, both guys.
Katsidis is still effectively buying time, and Amonsot is not jumping on him when he should be.
No, Amonsot is cooperating 100%.
And now Katsidis rushes forward as if he's going to throw a punch, and Amonsot backs off a little bit. And again, Katsidis buys time.
And maybe
2 minutes to go.
Amonsot may have still a little fear and respect of the punching power of Katsidis himself, where maybe he is not too anxious to get in there neither.
High drama in Las Vegas as Michael Katsidis, seemingly thoroughly blinded by damage done to both eyes from the punches of Czar Amonsot, tries to work his way through what would be an extremely dramatic victory.
It's interesting that Katsidis is clearly a special fighter. The question as to quite how special may have been answered had there been a little bit more of a sense in the last couple rounds that the fight would indeed be stopped on a cut. Because when that question came up in the 8th or 9th round, Katsidis came out like a house on fire. And when that question didn't come up again, he didn't quite press the action the same way. And I wonder, had it come up again, could he have scored the knockout? I suspect we'll find out in his career at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. As his career goes on, we're going to learn more and more. And I can't blame Katsidis for anything that he's done. You know, there's some booing from the crowd, and I'm not sure what it is they're booing. There he goes again.
Well, he's closing the show.
Stop! Less than a minute to go. Katsidis seemingly aware of that. Now seems to feel secure in the notion that the doctor and the referee are going to let him finish the fight, and maybe he'll take one more run at knocking Amonsot out.
You know, it's interesting. You meet these two guys at an after party after you, and you look at their faces, and one guy say that he won, and the other guy say he lost. You say, you must be kidding.
Yeah, you got to be kidding me.
Say, you're the winner?
The one with the other guy's blood all through his hair?
Yeah. And
that's
the other
guy
loser? Don't have a scratch on his face, the loser.
Katsidis looks the part. He looks the way boxing fans like their prize fighters to look at the end of a grueling fight.
And he throws punches down the stretch and makes it to the finish line. And the two fighters embrace each other in the wake of a vicious, brutal brawl in the 135-pound weight class. Our first look at Michael Katsidis, and you hope you're going to see him again.
Not looking that way.
I doubt that's the last time we'll see him looking something like that. Now let's take a look at the three judges who will render a decision between Katsidis and Amonsot. Dr. Ruben Garcia of Texas, 38 title fights. Had Klitschko ahead of Chris Bird in the 9th round. Check that, that's the shoulder fight. That was the Vitaly Klitschko fight that took place in Berlin, Germany a few years back. Patricia Jarman, 64 title fight. She's a veteran and one of the 5 Nevada judges who preferred Jermaine Taylor over Bernard Hopkins in Hopkins' 2 fights against Taylor here. And C.J. Ross, the least experienced of the 3 judges, in a similarly brutal fight between Jorge Arce and Skinny Hussein, had Arce ahead of Hussein, 88-82, which was pretty much the right score. Doctors have grouped in the ring, looking at Katsidis and discussing what happened here, and I don't know if I've ever seen doctors dissecting something like this in exactly the same way before. There's a look at Harold Letterman's scorecard, which had Michael Katsidis winning, 115-111. Michael Buffer's ready. Let's see who won the fight.
Ladies and gentlemen, here at the Mandalay Bay, we go to the scorecards. Ruben Garcia scores about 116-110. Patricia Morris Jarman, 114-112. C.J. Ross, 115-111. All to the winner by unanimous decision. Still undefeated, the fighting pride of Queensland, Australia, Katsidis the Great.
His family originates from the town in Greece, Larissa, which gave us Achilles. And you wonder down the road if Katsidis's eyes and face are going to show up as something like an Achilles heel. They could have here tonight, but he held on to win.
There are going to be a couple of Hectors in his future, too, I have a feeling.
Final CompuBox numbers, Katsidis landing 259 of 558, slumping to 46% down the stretch after landing more than half his punches for most of the fight. Amonsot 221 out of 710 in a skilled, controlled, good effort. Just not exactly from moment to moment, exactly the right fight to beat Michael Katsidis. Power punches and jabs were relatively meaningless except for those times when Amonsot was winning rounds with the jabs in the middle part of the fight. Katsidis 255 out of 530 power shots. 530 power shots in 12 rounds. And Amonsot 155 out of 396. Michael Katsidis' right hand is going to make an imprint on the lightweight division. Whether it'll be good enough to make him the best lightweight in the world remains to be seen. So, that was all heat. Las Vegas doesn't cool off at night. Still to come.